Um, Good evening. So I'm checking with Dwayne to see if we are ready to go. Okay, excellent. So we're ready to go. So in case we in case I'm doing this twice, I ask that the community be patient with us as we work through virtual meetings and hybrid virtual meetings, which is one that we're having tonight. So I want to welcome everyone to the April 21st School Board public hearing on the interim superintendent's revised proposed 2021 budget. This meeting is now in session. Ms. Van Dorn and Dr. Cannon are participating electronically from their homes in Arlington to help minimize the risk of exposure to the coronavirus for themselves, their families, and the community during the COVID-19 pandemic emergency. As you know, we just finished our work session and went through our PowerPoint, and we had a discussion and had clarifying questions. So we want to just take another opportunity to thank our staff for those efforts, especially during responding so quickly during these changing times. We've adjourned the work session, and we are now back in session to do the public hearing. We would like to now recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe they will put a flag on the screen, but we also have a flag here. So if everyone could stand for that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. So thank you all for tuning in and for coming to our public hearing tonight. As you know, due to school closings and the economic impact of the pandemic, the interim superintendent has revised our proposed 2021 budget, and we have adjusted our budget timeline. The revised proposed budget was presented to the board on April 16th, last Thursday, and we held a budget work session just prior to this hearing. And I also want to make a comment on that. We had some technical difficulties in the beginning of that budget work session that, however, the work session was recorded and will be posted in its completion this evening. So for those of you who missed that entry portion, you'll be able to look at it later tonight in its entirety. The revised proposed budget, again, was presented to us last week. We're going to consider all comments we hear tonight, as well as the feedback and comments we have received in writing as we prepare to adopt the school board's proposed 2020 budget this Thursday, April 23rd. There will be an additional budget work session and public hearing on May 5th. We will adopt the school board's final budget on the 7th of May. And we do have 3 speakers in attendance in person. Our seating does allow for social distancing. We've also have some hand sanitizer and antibacterial wipes, some Clorox wipes, to make sure that the microphone and the stands are wiped down after every person speaks. So I tell my speakers who are here in person that we did wipe that down, and that is sanitized to the absolute best of our ability. And so when you are done speaking, just please take a wipe and wipe that down. We would greatly appreciate it. I also wanted to share that we did receive comments via email because we are in an emergency order, to stay indoors unless required, and this is a required meeting. We have asked people to submit comments via email or through a voicemail. While we will not be reading all those comments, the school board will be reading them, but we will not be reading them out loud. And the school board did receive a summary and access to all of those comments prior to the public hearing. We have an update as of 5 p.m. this evening, so anything received after 5 p.m. we will be reviewing tomorrow. But what we have received, we received comments via email and or voicemail on crew. We received 12 communications that are opposing the cuts to crew. We received 14 emails regarding the furlough. 8 were opposed, 2 support, and 4 are supporting with different suggestions. We also received recommendations from TCI, the Teachers Council on Instruction. We received 7 communications on class size, and they were all opposed to the class size increase of 1. There were cuts to ITCs. We had 5 communications that are opposing the ITC cuts. Mental health services and counselors, we received 3 communications regarding mental health services and counselors. Regarding FLES, we received 2 opposed to the cut and elimination of FLES. Tuition reimbursement, there was one communication that we received in opposition to that. Assistant to teacher, there was an opposition to that. And we'll have to read that email. I'm not sure if I saw that cut somewhere, but we need clarification on that. Delay or postpone in construction, there was support for that. The compensation, there was a support for that. Hand washing devices at school, we received a comment on that for the public hearing this evening, and there was an inquiry about the Thomas Jefferson High School Science and Technology line item on the proposed budget, and then the COVID-19 and online learning impact email. We also have recommendations from the Aquatics Committee, again, TCI and the Budget Advisory Committee, and our Aquatics Chair and our Budget Advisory Committee Chair are here. So we received total about 50 messages for the public hearing tonight. This does not include emails necessarily that you may have sent advocating. If you looked at our public hearing website, we asked that you specifically state they were for public record. So this is those that were provided for public record. We may have received more in the general emails that we receive anytime people are advocating, but these are the ones that were specifically submitted as public hearing records. So I just wanted to provide that review. Since people cannot be here this evening, I expect those are people who would have come and shared their comments for 2 minutes with us. So now I'm going to go over our speaker guidelines and then ask our speakers to come forward. And so I'm just pulling that up. Okay. The school board welcomes public comment from community members. For this public hearing, all comments should address the interim superintendent's proposed 2021 budget. Speakers are called in the order in which they sign up. However, if students have signed up to speak, we invite them to speak first. Each speaker may speak for up to 2 minutes, and there is a timer that will keep track of your time. The timer begins when the speaker starts speaking, and you should conclude your remarks when the buzzer sounds. I will share this evening that our clerk is operating virtually, so we will be using a phone timer for the 2 minutes, because we have not been trained on the actual timer, and we wanted to, we just didn't have that opportunity, so we apologize. But we will have a timer. One of us will be operating that on the phone. To ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak, the board has established the following guidelines. Any person with a disability who needs accommodation to provide public comment is requested to contact the school board office in advance of a meeting to request assistance. Any person who would like to have an interpreter provided to system is asked to contact the school board office in advance, and we will make every effort to provide interpretation. If a speaker addresses the board in a language other than English and has an interpreter, the speaker will have 2 minutes to speak, and the interpreter will have up to 2 additional minutes to translate the comments for the board. I share that this evening because if we do have to have the public hearing again in person, we will allow for that, and we will work with whoever needs any accommodations. The board does not respond to public hearing comments. If you have written comments, please leave them on the podium and they will be distributed to the board. We ask the audience to refrain from applauding as that takes time away from our speakers, and please be sure to state your name when you begin. So now I'm going to ask our clerk to introduce the speakers. Ms. Elliott.
Thank you. Our first speaker, excuse me, let me get my. Our first speaker is Cynthia Hilton.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. And Ms. Hilton, if you bear with us, we're going to. Excellent. Okay, we're ready. So, let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Good evening. The Aquatics Committee, of which I am the chair, recognizes the dire financial straits you are in as a consequence of these unprecedented times. Every penny should matter when the task before you remains a multi-million-dollar gap, even with the revised baseline budget. A silver lining in this bleak situation is that you have the authority to reduce the amount of appropriated funds APS is paying to support community use of its pools by charging all community pool users admission fees based on the same scale. Last year, then, County Board Chair Christian Dorsey stated APS fees are outside the purview of the county board. The operational determination of what fees to charge, how much, is one made by APS staff and recommended for approval by the school board. There is simply no reason now that APS should continue to give away pool access to community swimmers because they sign up for classes or teams. If the inequitable status quo continues, APS will need to contribute over $442,000 to support community use of the pools, more than the county is prepared to contribute from its own tax revenue. If all admission fees were based on the same rates used this year, the amount of APS funds needed to cover the shortfall would be reduced 75%. We recognize that you have options to increase user fees to further drive down the amount of tax support needed for this community program. A preferred approach would be to ask the county to pick up the remaining tax support needed for its community users. That said, if present circumstances deem a fee increase necessary, we urge you to adopt a fee scale no higher than that used in FY 2019. This is a 5% increase over current rates. At that level, the need for APS funds would drop to 93% over the current projected shortfall. In no case should fees be raised to a level that would be expected to generate a surplus. Thank you for your service and for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Hilton, and thank you for coming out this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Ramsey.
Good evening. I'm Bob Ramsey, the chairman of the Budget Advisory Council, and I'm here representing the 15 members of the Advisory Council. I have sent ahead a couple of charts that summarizes our advice to you, which is what we are chartered to do. And we have tried to put this together again in a short time, but we've been preparing to provide this advice for the whole school year. Of course, we, just like you, weren't prepared to face this kind of a budget, but we've done our best too. In summary, we support the balanced scenario 3, as you were provided 3 scenarios, 1, 2, and 3. The third scenario was the one that the administration had worked to provide as a balanced budget, but that's one that we characterize as a brakes applied budget. That was, whoa, we've had to come to a rather full stop here. But we also would like to advocate what I call an accelerator pedal that needs to be added in, and we encourage you to go and negotiate with the county and say, well, we're hoping that the economy may accelerate during the course of this next year, and that the schools and the whole county doesn't have to suffer the results of the brakes applied situation that we see right now. And we hope that we can benefit from the economy coming back up to speed. And in that situation, if it can come back up to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, hopefully we can enjoy the benefits of that accelerating economy. My gosh, 2 minutes went by very quick. Anyway, you have the benefits of my chart and the benefits of some thinking of 15 other members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'd like to, Ms. Hilton left, but we'd like to thank you and the members and all of our advisory committees who are doing their best to work through these difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker tonight is Ms. Ingrid Gant.
Good evening to Ms. Talento, our chair, Ms. O'Grady, our vice chair, and to Mr. Goldstein, member, and those present and those watching at home. My name is Ingrid Gant. I'm the current president of the greatest union that we have, the Arlington Education Association. I come today to simply ask that you take a step. What that means is that you have so many concerns and so many issues that have come before you. I watched the the work session, and I applaud you because every last board member said that they wanted to make sure that the furlough day was put back. We have a lot of employees that left DC public schools and Maryland public schools and other school districts because the human capital was put last. So to hear each and every one of you say you welcome that being put back so that the cuts and things don't fall on our members' backs and our employees' backs means more to me than you know. And so I say thank you for at least acknowledging that verbally. We have a lot of positions that are being looked at. Our ITCs, we have Dwayne and them working right here. If we give them 11 months, that's a cut in their pay. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm asking you as the board members to take a step, to look at the positions that we currently have in our budget, that we currently say we're funding, like our ASL director and supervisor that's in the budget. Last year was put in the budget this year, but is that person working in that position? And so I can use that for many other positions in the county. I ask you to look at that and make sure that we're spending our money where it needs to be put. Our students deserve the best. We have the best staff that we have and the fearless educators that are working more now being home than they were when they were in the classrooms. So I applaud you. I don't welcome your decision, but I hope it's one that you can live with because it's going to be one that you face looking at every student and every educator for 365 days a week. Thank you so much for your time. Be healthy, stay well, and I wish you all the best until we meet again.
Thank you, Ms. Gant, for being here this evening and for your comments.
You want to clarify, just for, because things are moving so fast, about the ITCs?
Yes. Okay. We generally don't respond to public comments, but we just want to be clear since things are moving so quickly. Ms. Gann, in her comments, made reference to the ITC being cut from 12 months to 11 months. And I believe that in the detail that was published yesterday, that was removed. And again, as I shared in the budget work session, the school board had 2x2 scheduled on Friday immediately after the interim superintendent's proposed budget was presented. And we needed some material to work through and start discussing, so they brought us what they had ready at that time, but it was preliminary. When they were able to finalize it and get it through to all their staff and so forth, they published it on Monday, and there were minimal changes, but a few which included the removal of the ITCs. So the ITCs are not being considered for a recommended cut in this proposed budget. But again, I ask all of you who are watching to please take some time to look at the PowerPoint with the details cuts. We look forward to hearing from you. I want to thank all of our speakers who came out this evening. I appreciated the social distancing they practiced. They were all wearing masks walking in. Many of them were and we have our seating situated where it's 6 feet apart in all directions. So I want to thank our speakers for coming out. I also want to thank all of the community members who have sent messages to the school board with your input on the budget. We do have access to that. We have reviewed a lot of it, and we'll be continuing reviewing more. I gave the summary in the beginning of the meeting. We really appreciate the thoughtful comments and feedback on the proposed budget and your support for our schools, for Arlington Public Schools. These are very difficult times, and working in this setting is different for us. Working at this speed is different for us, and really is a team effort. I want to take a moment to thank Dwayne and Sharon, who are in the back, really helping, making sure that this meeting is going as smoothly as it can go. And we had, again, our ELT and our interim superintendent and Dr. Cannon and Ms. Van Dorn participating electronically. Just to give you a reminder of the schedule, we have a school board meeting on this Thursday, April 23rd. We will be presenting the school board's proposed budget. So what that is a budget that may come with a few changes in what we're recommending. We will then ask for feedback. We have more time between that and this particular run. We won't have a public hearing on our proposed budget until May 5th. And that's about 12 days afterwards, and then we adopt it on May 7th. So May 7th will be our final decision. For those of you who are new to APS, We generally have the public hearing on the proposed budget for the school board. We'll have a work session where you'll be similar to this evening's. You'll get final questions. You'll get an idea of where board members are thinking, what may have changed, if any new information has come about from budget questions and so forth. And so we will present, you'll hear where we're leaning, and then on Thursday, we will come forward and try to find consensus or agreement, majority agreement on decisions. These are difficult times. We hope that everyone is staying safe. We look forward to continuous engagement via email, voicemail 703-228-6015, email school.board@apsva.us. And we look forward to hearing your feedback about our budget this evening. This completes our public hearing. Thank you to all who are participating via Microsoft Teams, and this meeting is now adjourned.